or Acrylonitrile Butadiene ABS. Hi guys, I'm Maggie, and today we're going to talk about the most common filaments used for FDM printing. FDM, or Fusion Deposition Modeling, is the most widely available, affordable, and therefore the most common type of 3D printing used amongst hobbyists like myself, and probably you if you're watching this video. FDM is incredibly versatile because of the wide range of filaments available, and it'll suit your needs whether you're looking to make a functional prototype or a cute little knick-knack to decorate your home.
The filaments we'll talk about today are PLA, ABS, Polycarbonate, ASA, PET, Nylon, Flexible, Composite, and Support.
Let's get to it. The first filament that we're going to talk about is PLA, or polylactic acid. PLA is the most commonly used filament in FDM printing, and that's because of its ease of use. It typically prints anywhere between 180 to 220 degrees Celsius, and if you have a heated print bed, that's usually around 60 degrees Celsius. The nice thing about printing with PLA is that a heated bed isn't required.
PLA can be found in pretty much every color imaginable, and it also has some fun options like color changing with temperature and glow in the dark.
It's made from renewable products such as cornstarch-based plastic. In terms of its physical characteristics, there's little to no warpage or shrinkage, but on the other hand, it's very stiff and one of the weakest materials that we'll talk about today.
Overall, PLA is great for beginners new to 3D printing, as well as simple prototypes and decorative items.
The next filament that we're going to talk about is ABS, or Acrylonitrile
Butadiene Styrene.
ABS. ABS prints between 210 and 265 degrees Celsius, and it does require a heated bed around 100 to 110 degrees Celsius. ABS is significantly harder to print than PLA, however, it's significantly stronger as well. ABS is incredibly durable. It's the material that they use to make Legos, and if you've ever stepped on a Lego, then you know how durable it is.
In order to succeed printing with ABS, you will need an enclosed chamber that prevents airflow and keeps ambient temperatures consistent. This prevents ABS from cooling too quickly, which can cause cracking. ABS also gives off an unpleasant smell as it prints, so this chamber will contain that as well. If your printer does not have an enclosed chamber already, there are a ton of DIY ways to make one. You can also purchase them online.
Two filaments that are very similar to ABS that I wanted to touch on are polycarbonate and ASA, or Acrylonitrile Styrene Acrylate. Polycarbonate is strong and impact resistant like ABS, but prints at even higher temperatures, between 270 and 310 degrees Celsius. It's commonly used to make drone accessories as well as mechanical and automotive parts. ASA, on the other hand, is UV resistant, so it's great for parts that are going to be exposed to the sun, such as automotive parts, outdoor decorations, and camping gear. It prints between 230 and 260 degrees Celsius. Overall, ABS is great for functional prototypes due to its high impact tolerance and durability. One thing to keep in mind about ABS is that it does have a tendency to shrink as it cools, so you may need to scale up your models by 1 or 2% in order to accommodate for this. The next filament that we're going to talk about is PET, or Polyethylene Terephthalate. Forget it. Most filaments will not be true PET, but rather a modification to make them 3D printable. The most common of these modifications are PETG and PETT. PET prints between 230 and 260 degrees Celsius with a heated bed between 70 and 80 degrees Celsius. It's kind of a middle ground between ABS and PLA. It's strong like ABS, but it's easy to print like PLA. To put it into perspective, PET is the material used to make most water bottles.
In order to succeed printing with PET, you need to print at a slower speed than normal and decrease the fan speed to somewhere between 20 and 40%. This reduces the stringing that oftentimes occurs when printing with this filament. Additionally, do not print PET directly on a heated glass bed. If you do, the filament can actually fuse with the glass and rip it up when you remove the print. To avoid this, either print on a different surface or apply painter's tape over the glass. Overall,
PET is great for when you're looking for something a little bit stronger and more flexible than PLA, but it's also easier to print than ABS. Next up is nylon. Nylon prints between 240 and 275 degrees Celsius with a heated bed of about 100 degrees Celsius. In order to print at these high temperatures, you most likely will need to upgrade to an all-metal hot end. This all-metal hot end allows you to print at these temperatures without burning your Teflon or Bowden tube. Nylon is the most cost-effective in terms of strength, versatility, durability, and weight. It's incredibly sensitive to water, so you need to have somewhere dry to store it. If you leave it out, it'll soak up moisture and damage the filament. You'll know that your nylon's been damaged if it makes a crackling noise as it extrudes from the nozzle. If this does happen and you want to try and save your spool, you can try to bake it in the oven, although the best practice is definitely just to try and prevent it from getting wet in the first place. The next filament that we're going to talk about is flexible filament, which usually you'll find either TPU or TPE. This prints anywhere from 200 to 240 degrees Celsius. In order to succeed printing with flexible filament, you'll need to make sure that you print at a slower speed in order to prevent clogging. You'll also need to make sure that you upgrade either to a Bowden tube or a direct drive extruder. This ensures that the material is moved from the extruder to the hot end successfully.
The next filament is composite filament, which, as it sounds, means there's another material, typically a powder, embedded within the plastic matrix. One common type of composite filament is wood-infused filament.
Wood-infused filament is what it sounds like. It's PLA infused with small wooden fibers. Wood-infused filaments typically print between 200 and 240 degrees Celsius with a heated bed of 60 degrees Celsius. In my experience, wood-infused filament prints very similarly to PLA. Prints made out of this material look and feel like real wood. They can also be cut, stained, and sanded like real wood. One thing to be cautious of when printing with this material is that if you print it too hot, the wood fibers will begin to burn. This can lead to clogging of your nozzle or getting a darker print than desired. Another common type of infused filament is metal infused. This is typically powdered metal mixed about 50-50 with PLA or ABS. This filament prints between 200 and 240 degrees Celsius and will produce parts that look and feel like metal objects with a nice shiny finish. The most common powdered metals used for this are brass, bronze, aluminum, steel, and copper. One caution with metal infused filament is that the metal powder does tend to wear down your brass nozzle, so I would highly suggest either getting a hardened steel or a ruby nozzle.
Overall, composite filaments are very specialized filaments best used for very niche projects. They're great for when you feel like getting a bit more creative with your prints.
The last filament we're going to talk about is support filament. This is typically PVA if you're printing with PLA, or HIPS if you're printing with ABS. These filaments are used when you have a printer that's capable of printing with more than one filament. These supports can then be dissolved either in a limonene solution for HIPS or water for PVA once your print is finished, leaving you with a nice, clean, supportless print.
This saves you from the tedious process of manually removing supports and having to clean up or sand the area that they were supporting. Overall, there are probably a million different materials and brands of filament out there for FDM printing. I hope this video helped break down some of the filaments that are most commonly used and will make your life easier the next time you're trying to decide what filament is right for your needs. For a more in-depth summary of FDM filaments, feel free to check out our article, Best 3D Printing Filaments, a comprehensive guide to 3D printing materials, as well as many other 3D printing resources on total3dprinting.org.
Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.